these fish move back into deep pockets. Doesn't get any deeper than this. This is a rock quarry.
This week on Kentucky Afield.
Oh, that's a nice crappie right there.
Spring and summer might be the most popular times to fish, but there are some great and highly overlooked opportunities
Here we go.
in the fall and winter as well. Next, it is deer season, so we're in the stand and looking to fill the freezer. Then, if you take a trophy whitetail, you might need to know how to cape it. So we're with a local taxidermist who's showing us how it's done.
We're going to be following that white and brown, and we're going to take it all the way up to where we made our cuts at.
It's all next on Kentucky Afield.
Such a pretty fish.
Beautiful.
This pond is plumb loaded with frogs.
They're everywhere in here. Yeah, this is a good fish right here. Really good fish.
Come here, girl.
Yeah, boy. That's a big rabbit.
Nice job. Yes! Yes! My first musket.
Mercy, Leo.
Yeah, look at it. It's a keeper.
There it goes. Boom!
Wow, that happened fast.
Hello, and welcome to Kentucky Afield. I'm your host, Chad Miles. Join us as we journey the Commonwealth in search of outdoor adventure. Anglers often overcomplicate the simple task of going fishing. Sometimes it's best to just grab a rod and hit the banks. Oh, here we go. I came in here today thinking that I might be able to catch some white bass or some sauger, but as you can tell, it's a very nice day for late October. And when it cools in the fall, these fish will run up to the real shallow water. And because that temperature changes faster when you get cooler nights, well, when you get 3 or 4 days in the 80s in October, guess what? This water starts warming faster. So these fish move back into deep pockets. Doesn't get any deeper than this. This is a rock quarry. I'm fishing the very edges of the bank, and these crappie are stacked in here. This is a spot that if you fish in Kentucky, you probably know this walk-in site right under the bridge, right here at Taylorsville Lake. And there's nobody here. It's because it's October. Everybody's in a deer stand, but it's a great time to catch crappie. There we go. Now this is a white bass. Now this is what I come up here thinking I might catch this or some sawguy. In the springtime, everyone knows to come to Nolan River, the Dix River, and the Salt River here and catch these. A lot of people don't know is that they also have a run in the fall, and it's mainly because of changing water temperatures. Now, that's a pretty decent little white bass, and these are great in the skillet. Here we go. Another white bass. I tell you what, the fish are just really stacked in here. Most people are out in the woods in the deer stand. It's a little hotter than what I like to bow hunt. So I said, hey, you know what? You get a couple 80-degree days in October, hit the water. Look at there. It's a keeper crappie. Now here they got to be 10 inches long. And that one is going to make it, and it's pretty thick too. Not a bad little fish. Here we go. Now that's a nice crappie right there. Right now, these crappie for this time of year are real thick and very, very, very healthy. Oh. There's another one. You're talking about a lot of fun. You know, today, I didn't want to do it with a boat, kayak, live bait, nothing. Just grab a little hair jig. Look at how their eyes are situated on top of their head. These fish feed up. So all I'm doing is taking this little bait and I'm keeping this little hair jig above their heads off the bottom. And as I take that bait, I'm just pulsing it through the water at a real slow speed, just like a little minnow, just kind of dawdling along. And these crappie are just coming up, and white bass are coming up and just smoking it. It's a great way to kill a couple hours. Just out here having fun, catching them and putting them right back in. The deer have really been moving, and if you're trying to fill your freezer this fall, this is the time of year to do it. Well, this is my favorite time of year, late October. The rut is just starting. I'll tell you, we're in a really cool spot. A lot of deer on this piece of property. We know they're using this area, and this farmer wants multiple deer taken out. So, you know, if we get a chance to take two, we'll do that as well. But typically, they've been coming out right here, working their way along the edge of this field, on around. Our wind is coming just like this. So we should have tons of shot opportunities if a deer comes out the way they have been. Perfect set. I'm feeling pretty good about this. Deer going right there. Deer took off right there. Deer up on that hill took off this way. You can always expect the unexpected, and as soon as we got up here and got settled down, had an ATV and a rider come literally right underneath us. You never know exactly how that's going to affect you, but the only thing you can do is sit in here and see, wait them out. It may not impact them at all. We did see a deer take off. It could be a situation where it's boogered it up for the evening, but let's hope not. Deer up here in front of us in the field. There's another one coming down too. We can already have a bunch of deer. I better get up if I get a chance. They look like they're close, but they're still 40 yards away. Hopefully we get one right over here beside us. She's in an opening there, but man, that's 45 yards. That's a pretty long shot. A little buck, another little buck. Now this buck very well may chase this mature doe right to me. He's not as worried about baiting, he's cruising a little bit. He's gonna run them off or run them to us, one or the other. You gotta love these nights in the woods like this. You've got deer moving like crazy. You've took that probably an hour and a half at daylight. It just becomes a waiting game. You just love to watch them. And hopefully this little aggressive buck just nudges one my way just a little bit. It's pretty windy out. I feel comfortable to a 40-yard shot, but if I could get less, I would prefer it. He's just going to move them around until we get one in range. Here we go. Just phasing right at me. I just needed to turn. Let me get ready. Maybe get another shot. We've already got a little buck out here. It's been about 10 minutes, and he's already back out here again. It wouldn't surprise me if a few more of those does come out. Now they're going to be a little bit skittish, but there's a good chance we could get another one. Here comes one here. Oh, here's a good buck. Oh my God, look at this. Here's a 10-pointer right here. We got a 10-pointer right beside it. a little doe making her way out right here. And we got a 9-pointer. This landowner, he is a hunter, but he doesn't bow hunt any. He's excited about getting in the woods, and I'm excited for him to get out here. He is going to hopefully be hunting this buck, or a buck similar to that. Sometimes it's hard to watch him walk that close. I mean, we had that deer dead in the rights at like 12 yards. But I want to get these does, and here comes another one right here. I missed him there. I can see it right now. Hold on. Where's that thing gone? Oh my gosh. This is crazy. People who watch the show is going to think I'm crazy. I just shot a doe. It's the second one tonight. Right behind me, I've got a 9-pointer that I've had right under the stand. Well, we still got about 30 minutes, but I'll tell you what, I really don't want to process more than 2. And if I wasn't going to shoot that buck, I'm probably not going to shoot any bucks out of here, so might as well get these deer, get them wrapped up, get the truck, and the freezer will be full by the end of the week. Awesome. It's a really, really good sign when you're tracking deer. These bubbles that you're seeing on there, that indicates a lung shot. Typically, these type of deer, they're gonna run 50, 60 yards, and they're gonna pile up. Well, this is deer number 1. We saw deer number 2 go down, so we know it's right over here. You know, this was such a crazy hunt because I really came out here to try to fill the freezer with some does, and we got this little buck that came out and chased these does around and really helped us out. And that doesn't always work out that way. But then lo and behold, we shoot the first one, we decide to wait a little bit, and right beside me stands such a nice buck. It stood right there making a scrape, but that's not why we came out here. It's not real easy, turn your back on, you know, a 145, 150 inch buck. But that's what we came out here to do, is to take some does, and that buck is still here. I hope the landowner, the farmer, is able to pick that up this gun season. And I want to thank him for letting me come out here after what I was after, and that was a freezer full of venison. If you're crossing state lines with your whitetail deer this season, there are some things you need to know. Make sure you read the rules and regulations, and you may need to learn how to cape a deer. Today I'm here with Bobby Carey of Carey's Taxidermy, and we're going to talk about something that all deer hunters kind of need to know how to do, and that is caping out a deer. Handling a good trophy mount starts in the field, doesn't it?
Right. You got to really make sure you're not dragging it around and losing hair, getting it wet. Try to keep it dry, because that's where a lot of the bacteria sets in really quick, and you'll lose hair, and that's not going to look too good on your mount.
What would be the very first step you would do after field dressing?
If this was my deer and I'm going to start getting it ready for the taxidermist, I mean, he came down right to where the breastbone starts, and that's about where you want to stop your cutting on your fur. We're going to be needing about this much of his cape around his body. We're going to do a complete circle around this, and we're going to be cutting from the inside out.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to grab a pair of gloves and we'll get started. What do you think?
Sounds good. We're going to be making 3 circles here, one around the body, and one around both legs. So I'm gonna start cutting here.
Circle one, huh?
Yes. Just go ahead and get the other circles cut here and just go all the way around the deer.
Okay, this is circle number 2.
A lot of taxidermists use a scalpel blade. It's a little cheating, but you can get these too. We're gonna be following that white and brown, and we're gonna take it all the way up to where we made our cuts at.
We're gonna do that on both sides?
Yes. I think we got it here.
All right, I'm gonna trade you sides.
Okay. The same thing on this side, just follow the white and brown line.
Okay,
If you're not sure where the white and brown is, to be safe, just kind of go out into the brown a little more.
okay.
All right, got our lines cut. We're gonna go ahead and start peeling some of the skin off the legs here. It's just kind of a slow process. Just take your time, keep the holes minimum.
Yeah, I would think that was the most important thing. If you poke this and put a hole in here, that could be something you're gonna have to try to fix later on in the process.
Right. It's just best not to do that, and it makes for a nicer mount. It gets a little where the meat tries to stay attached to the skin here, so I always like to put my fingers underneath the skin and always know where it's at. You don't want to cut your fingers, so that would kind of help you not cut the hide. So,
Gotcha, okay.
even though I haven't cut the hide and my fingers.
Hey, if you ever talk to a taxidermist that says they've never cut their fingers, you're talking to a liar.
Yes. We're gonna keep rotating it here. And you can do this without a hoist. I've done them on the back of the trucks or whatever. It just, you gotta keep flipping them back and forth, which is harder on you. This is the best way to do it. It does a really good job. And like I said, this is just kind of tedious here, but just gotta take your time. And if you leave meat on the hide, it's no big deal. I can get it off later, so don't worry about that. Just concentrate on not tearing the hide. And this area right here is where you really need to be careful, because this is the most critical area. And like I said, this is where his armpits are, and this is going to be part of the mount. So you really need to take your time and just kind of feel the fur and the skin. And
This right here is the part of the mount that a person's gonna notice first other than the antlers.
you don't want to see a big cut and where some taxidermists had to sew it up and you can see the hairlines messed up. We're just going to take the rest of it down to the neck as far as we can get it. And,
Okay.
And what we're going to do, I'm going to cut where I'm going to be cutting with a saw and get the meat out of the way, and it'll just be the spinal cord in there.
All right.
And we'll get the saw out. There we go.
We're at the point right here to where if you were gonna have a taxidermist within the state you harvested the animal, do your work, this is where you would stop. Now, if you were gonna travel from out of state into the state of Kentucky, we still have the brain matter and probably some spinal column here that
Right.
would need to be removed. So we're gonna move this to the table and pick it up at that point in time to go ahead and finish this process out. I see you have a tape measure here. The couple measurements we're gonna get are from the very tip of the nose.
Tip the nose to the corner of the eye.
So you want to take these measurements and then jot these down and just provide these to your taxidermist so they can make the most realistic possible mount. What's the next step?
I'm going to go ahead and start skinning it. I like to use the V cut from burr to burr, so I'm going to be doing a V here. Put the screwdriver underneath there and
Oh, wow.
start tearing it off there, and then coming back out with a little short incision here. And I'm just going to do a little pre-cutting here. I'm going to be cutting this ear off here at the connection point. So then I'm going to be getting the screwdriver out again and using it back here a little bit, get the rest off the burr.
A little bit of twisting, a little bit of cutting, a little bit of
Yes.
prying, all that's involved.
Yes. We'll do the other side here. Okay, I'm going to turn it over and we're going to skin this mouth out. Every taxidermist does a little different, but I'm going to attack this from both ends here. Again, you don't want to be cutting holes in the face. That's where it's the hardest to hide in the face. Take this nose off here. It's got some cartilage in here I'm going to be cutting. You know, a lot of customers do their own Euro mounts, and you still need to do this process.
It'd be good if you were in an anatomy class for wildlife too, because man, kind of
Yes.
get a good idea of what all this looks like.
All right, I'm gonna turn it over again and try to get this cape off the back of the meat here.
Okay.
Just kind of going back and forth on the
Yeah,
outside.
just rotate it
yeah.
around and make your way around the face and just pulling all the hide forward, huh?
Yeah. I'll take my finger and put it inside the eye around the skin so I won't cut that eyelid. And I just stay really close to the skeleton here.
eyelashes and everything are staying on the hide that you're going to be using. You
Yes.
want all that on there
Yes.
because that's what really makes it look good.
Yes, occasionally you'll lose hair follicles and bristles and stuff, but the more you keep, the more you realize that it does add to the mount. Okay, just kind of keep going back and forth. Finish this other burr here.
So really the tools you're going to need, obviously gloves are nice, but you're going to need a couple of really sharp knives, scalpels if you got them,
Yes.
a tape measure, a screwdriver or something to be able to pry that hide away from underneath the bottom of the antler.
Right.
The amount of work that you have to come through to make this thing look identical to what it did in the field and the precision that you have to go through is pretty amazing.
Right, it's a lot of work. I mean, people complain about prices a lot of time, but there's a lot that goes into it, a lot, behind the scenes. So you got to pay for quality. It's the amount of time that each taxidermist spends on it. That's what you're paying for, the time he's spending on your deer.
So if you were out of state and you were going to bring this deer back in, this portion here is completely legal to bring in.
Right.
Let's say you're going to be traveling several hours. How would you handle this to make sure that it's best preserved?
I'm going to take these ears and roll them up into the hide. It helps protect them because the tip of the ears and the nose would be the first thing that would get freezer burned. I would put this in a plastic bag or two, and if the hunter had time to put it in the freezer overnight, and it'd be nice and cold for the trip. You do not want it at the bottom of the cooler with ice on top of it. You want it on top of the cooler and really bag it good so it doesn't get any moisture at all.
Taking the prize portion off, the antlers, you want to make sure you cut and leave enough to where you've got solid bone in between all this, right?
Right. And I'm just going to cut an inch or so in front of the pedicles here and same in the back, just so it'll fit into some of these forms I have. When you're doing this, you don't want to cut his antlers at all, so you got to really be careful.
Yeah, those bone saws are made to cut bone. They do great on bone. They don't do real well on fur or meat, do they?
No. All right, now we're gonna flip it around, do the front. And it's pretty hard on that top there.
This old boy's been fighting. I'm sure it's a good thing it is hard.
Yes. And you was talking about the brain matter, and there's plenty of it right there that you would want to go across state lines with, so that needs to go. I'll clean up the excess meat, and we'll get this membrane off here.
There you go.
I'll put a little borax on it to dry it up. I'll just kind of dip these antlers down in it. Just spread it and rub it all over the inside. And that will dry up that meat, keep the bugs off of it, and you're good to travel.
Well, Bobby, I tell you, I appreciate the education on this, and transportation of deer parts are becoming more and more restricted. It's becoming more and more important as a hunter, if you think you may want to preserve your trophy with a taxidermist, to know how to do this.
Right.
Now let's check in and see who else has been out having fun in this week's Ones That Didn't Get Away. Here we have a super impressive largemouth bass caught by Rick Wedding. This fish was caught in the strip pits in Owensboro, Kentucky. 8-year-old Caitlin Troxel took this really nice buck on the family farm in Switzerland County, Indiana. Nice deer. Here we have 10-year-old Trenton Pig with his very first squirrel taken in Madison County, Kentucky. Here we have John Coffey with the very first buck taken on their family farm in Rock Castle County. Check out the super white long tines on this impressive buck taken by Dudley Shepperson. He took this deer in Gravel Switch, Kentucky. Janine Heber started out with a bang. This is her very first deer and first buck ever, and this deer was taken in Henry County. Nice buck. Check out this largemouth bass caught by Rita Wedding. This fish was caught in the strip pit in Owensboro, Kentucky. Nice bass. Tom Cantrell from Ashland, Kentucky is in his 80s and still harvesting trophy bucks with a bow. Nice job. Stacy Ann Ball of McCreary County caught one of those nice crappie I've been hearing about on Lake Cumberland. Good job. Travis Jones of Lexington, Indiana is 15 years old and took this really impressive 15-point buck. Nice job. Joey Brady knows how to spend a nice warm summer afternoon, and that is floating the Rolling Fork River where he caught this nice smallmouth. Here we have a mature gobbler that was taken by Rebecca Wilson Smith of Oldham County. Beautiful bird. Modern firearms season for deer is now open statewide in Kentucky. Good luck, and please hunt safely. And remember, hunting and fishing on private property is a privilege. Always ask permission and thank the landowner. Until next week, I'm your host, Chad Miles, and I hope to see you in the woods or on the water.
More Kentucky Afield is available at your fingertips. Whether by smartphone or desktop, you'll find extra tips, photos, even behind-the-scenes video on our social media pages. Join the conversation and stay in the woods or on the water longer when you follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. Simply search Kentucky Afield on your favorite app.